Hey friends, Father John Parker from FatherJP.com. Hope you enjoyed this new interview. Please like and subscribe. Enjoy. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for being with me today, for joining me. I in South Canaan, Pennsylvania at St. Tikhon Seminary, and you in your home in California. It's really good to see your face.
Thank you.
Um, I'm grateful to be on this adventure of what I call two-way interviews. I think that among the musicians and artists I've had the opportunity to speak with in this kind of way, I found it refreshing in two directions. Number one, I get the honor and the privilege to meet you and hear about your life and your perspective as a human person and a well accomplished musician. And many people, it is not the case here, have never met an Orthodox priest and sometimes want to ask him a question or two. I'm certainly open to that as well, whether it's personal or church related or otherwise. But that's why I've called these two-way interviews. That's a little bit about what I'm doing and how. And then, if I may, I'll just share with you a little bit about my own background, which may help you appreciate why I'm interested to have these kinds of conversations. First, I'm trying to be a grateful human being. I have turned 55 years old this summer, and increasingly, I'm starting to look back with all kinds of measures, I hope, of gratitude on my life, gratitude to God for the blessings that He's given to me. And as I have served as a pastor over all these years, and through these kinds of conversation, I realized that quite honestly, and with gratitude, not with any sort of bragging, I realized that I have it better than a lot of people have it, and that is softening my heart in many ways, which I'm very grateful for. I'm married, have two adult children. They're married. We had our fifth grandbaby born last week. I had a chance to hold her in my arms not too long ago, and I also reflect on the gratitude to God, with gratitude to God about being raised in a family that was intact forever. This is who I am, and I realize that lots and lots of people don't have that. As a pastor, I see more and more clearly how broken the world is. I'm a lifelong learner, I hope, trying to be a good Christian, to love my Lord and my neighbor. And at the same time, I'd love to be in a band, quite honestly.
I think you're doing just fine with what you're doing right now.
Well, I'm sure too. When I was once I was in college and I picked up a guitar, I couldn't put it down. In my younger adult years, when I was in the Episcopal Church, which is where I was raised, I played in our worship band, and not wanting to be one of seven guitarists, I bought a mandolin. That's something you and I have in common, and began to enjoy all of that. So I'm grateful to God, and I have an abiding love for people and an increased soft heart for the brokenness of the people who are broken in this world, we who are broken in this world. So that's where I'm coming from. And if it's okay, I'd love to talk with you a little bit about your perspective on the world and your own person as you wish. Sound good?
The world is definitely broken. The moral compass is broken.
Yeah.
I scratch my head every night. I'm not watching the news as much as I used to. And when I do watch it, I get very depressed. But then there are things that happen where I'll meet some young kids that are catechumens in the church, that are coming to the Orthodox Church in
Sure.
their 20s, that are curious.
Yes.
And that I love. And the other thing, I'll meet these kids that are really goal oriented. So what is it all about? It's as simple as fix the family, fix the world, fix the world, fix the family. The family is also important as to fixing the world. You know,
Right.
it sounds minimalistic and easy, but it really is down to parenting. And that's how I see. I mean, it is. It's really. I talked to some people my age. Roger McGuinn in the Byrds, the last survivor with me, and I said, "Boy, it went fast. How did this go so
Yeah.
fast?"
Yeah.
where most civilizations have a 200, 300, 400, a couple, 1,000 years.
Mm,
This really went down, and a lot of it is the technology, and it's interesting. It's like you really have to cling to God now.
for
We as
sure.
and you have to be uh, somebody that others would look up to and ask questions. I'm there anytime anybody has a question. Now, I don't
Yes.
know anything. Orthodoxy, when I was chrismated in 1996, uh,
Hmm.
I have been peeling back layers for the last 30 years of information that I'm learning
Yeah.
about Orthodoxy. So I can't say I know everything, but I can at least steer them in the right direction.
Sure. Chris, it sounds like you have a vibrant life of faith. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
Mhm.
All kinds of ways that people are raised in our culture with faith and some without. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about how you were raised with faith or not? And then you've spoken a little bit about Orthodox Christianity already. Obviously, that's where you are today. How were you raised, and how did you come to where you are?
We didn't have a formal religious foundation. My mother would take us rather lazily to the Presbyterian church where her cousin was the minister.
I
Once,
see.
so that was not a thing. My father was Jewish, total atheist, did not want to know about it, and married a Gentile woman. And my little sister, I remember when she was 11 years old, she said, "Dad, would you take me to a temple? I want to see what it is." He said, "No, wouldn't do it." And
Including
consequently, we did
including
not have, excuse me, go ahead.
including to the synagogue. He was not interested either in Christianity of your
Oh, no,
mom
no,
and
no, none,
nor
no,
of
no,
his own faith.
would not buy into it. Now, our family was good and loving,
Mm,
and he was a great dad. I mean, he taught us to be responsible, to work for things, to be responsible, meaning if you got into mischief, you had to stand up and deal with that
Big
situation.
responsibility, sure.
An honest man helped other people all the time,
Mm,
always be helping people.
mm.
And it became overwhelming to him in his early 50s, and he killed himself. He committed suicide in
Lord,
1960, uh,
oh, Lord.
61. And talk about, as you probably have done a lot of counseling in that area,
Mm,
suicide is the most egregious sin, and it
mm,
destroys the family,
for
destroys
sure,
the family. So I always had an affinity towards the Lord, but I had anger you wouldn't believe. And that
no
was
doubt.
angry at my dad. I said, why did he do that? Good man. And literally left us destitute. So
Chris, how old were you, and how old was he when that happened?
I was 16, he was about 51. So
16.
my older brother and was in the Air Force. He's a pilot. My sister was married, and myself and my little sister and my mother got through it all. We had no money, and we moved from a very rural area of California up to Los Angeles, right?
Right.
And I went to night school because I didn't have a diploma and worked in the daytime. My sister went to high school.
Mm,
And we made it. And then when I turned, I was starting to play then mandolin. And when I turned 18, and there was a band in San Diego that I knew these guys because I used to goof around with them. And they said, "You want to come down and join the band?" I said, "Well, let me look into that." And I asked my mother. I
no,
said, "I want to go to San Diego." And she said, "All right, I'm not worried about you, but if you don't go, you'll never regret it. You'll regret it the rest of your life. You'll
right.
regret it the rest of your life if you do not do this." Wonderful woman, absolutely wonderful. And off I went with my mandolin to San Diego. So I was not a serious Christian at all, but I had, as I say, an affinity toward God. And as time went on, and I began to write songs later on, there were a lot of spiritual gospel songs I was writing. So
Yeah,
anyway, so originally I was a evangelical Christian in the 1970s
yeah.
and was baptized. And Connie grew up in the Greek Orthodox Church, cradle Orthodox.
Mhm.
And for the first 10 years of our marriage, we've been married 47 years.
Congratulations. That's beautiful.
She's up for sainthood.
For sure.
Yeah, but
She together with my wife, Chris.
yeah, or
Yes.
maybe they're up. Never. The first 10 years, she prayed for me. And about that first 10 years, I got curious.
Mm.
And it was around this one time where this young lady said to me in this church I was going to, she said, well, God talked to me last night. And he said he doesn't feel you should be working in clubs. I said, really? He didn't tell me that. I said,
Oh,
I thought I would be a beaming, shining light to people in clubs. And
yeah.
so and I started to go, wait a minute. So I started to go up to the Orthodox church to the priest there and was sort of a catechumen for a while and went to classes with him.
Hmm.
And I was chrismated in 1996. I was chrismated into the Orthodox faith. I
Right.
think he did a quick one because I had a background in the faith.
Sure.
So
A
whatever.
dear, dear sweet wife with lots of stability and lots of prayers.
Oh yeah, tell me. She really, and to this day, she's my saving grace in
Did
all.
that did that lady did that woman who commented about the clubs, did that did that impact you in whether or not you changed when and where you played?
It was part of what. No, no, that didn't affect me at all. I just went, you know, and as I got to dealing with certain people, I mean, the evangelical church is great. You learn the Bible. Basically,
Sure,
you learn the Bible.
for
They don't
sure.
give sacraments, most of them. But that was the beginning of where I was scratching my head and questioning it. And the Orthodox faith offered so much rich spiritual life in traditional had been together so long, never
Yes,
changed.
sure.
And like I say, I'm still learning about the faith. I'm peeling layers back about it.
No
But
doubt. Could
uh,
you put your finger on one particular aspect of the faith that has been most personally meaningful to you?
I felt that Jesus healed me because I've had some pretty
Mm,
heavy health issues. Uh, that and healed everything in my life, my marriage, my health, and
mm,
all manner of things. And I prayed. And a lot of people I know prayed. And I have lots of friends who are Christian, and they're not quite sure what. We have our little altar in the house,
sure,
And
of
I had
course.
a friend over one day who I loved dearly. In fact, he actually brought me into the Lord back in 1970.
Huh.
Kept looking at that altar. He just did not know. He thought it was some. And
Mm,
and and then he told me one day, he said, you can't address another person as father. I said, really? Anyway, so I didn't engage with it, and I love him dearly, and that's just the way it is. Sometimes it's just out of ignorance they don't know. But that I think was the healing factor.
mm,
And the thing about Christianity that is really the calling card is forgiveness. That's the
yes,
calling card. You say, well,
yes,
what do you believe in? That didn't happen. I said, forgiveness.
for
This is
sure.
what Jesus taught us. And that is first and foremost all important.
Hmm. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, Chris, if we could. I'm myself, as I mentioned, I turned 55 this summer. I'm starting to look maybe back more than I'm starting to was looking forward, and I think about my own upbringing, childhood, young adulthood, and so forth. I'm starting to ask myself the questions that I suppose we all ask once we reach a certain age about, what is my legacy? Did I do the right thing? Am I on the straight and narrow? Those kinds of things. And on the one hand, I will say, I mean, I am a sinner, that's for sure, and still to this day. But I strayed substantially off the reservation in my young years, in my college age, and so forth. And yet, like you said, our Lord is the great forgiver. So I'm very grateful to have found forgiveness myself. I also acknowledge that without those terrible things in my life, which God wouldn't have us do but does forgive us for, I wouldn't be me. All of those parts, the good and the bad, make me me today.
That's
When
right.
when you're looking back on your life, uh, talking about regret or not talking about regret, if you're, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, whichever part of that, when you had the anger and all those other things that you were describing earlier, what would you say to him today, knowing what you know and being who you are today? What would you say to your younger self at whatever age if he were here with us today?
I would say be thankful
Mm,
and grateful.
mm,
And out of ignorance, I didn't know. I just didn't know. And then I felt also, you talking about looking back on your life, wait till you hit 82. You start
mercy.
saying, and
I pray I make it that far.
well, I committed the most egregious sins ever. I
Mm,
got in some terrible stuff.
yeah,
And and I knew Jesus forgave me. And I just prayed that everybody that I touched in a bad way forgave me.
yeah.
I remember that the gentleman that I told that brought me into Christ,
Hmm.
1970, and then I didn't stick with it for oh gosh, it took me another 8 years. And I
Yeah.
told him, I said, I just didn't, he says, well, God, you might want to stray from God, but he won't stray from you. I said,
Mm,
really? Even though he said, he's there with you. He is there with you always, and it'll come around, which it did
yeah.
in more ways than I can imagine.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how far we go, the Lord is always there.
Right.
Even,
The other
even
thing,
the,
Father, is you think, well, if only I'd have done this,
right?
yet and I chastise myself for being lazy as a musician. I could have been a better musician. I could have been a better, ba, 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 ba. And, and then you go, no, he had me on this path for a reason.
Mm,
That going into these areas, these groups, I always thought I was going to go back to college. And a
yeah.
door would open, and I was in another band doing this, and they were all good. There was not sometimes unpleasant things going on in those bands, but I'm not innocent. I'm
Right.
not I'm not judging. I'm just saying that happened. But
Sure.
I think God had a plan for me, and He has that sort of where I was going to go through all of these
Mm.
things to get to where I am now. And I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, the truth is, he certainly sends us trials which give us the opportunity to return to him.
You
On,
know
on
the great Saint Paisios,
sure.
who he wrote. He had a couple of books he wrote, but he always would say, if God hands you something just horrible, and you should thank Him.
Yeah.
You thank God for that to gives you the power and strengthens your faith and love, and He gives
Mm.
you that to correct your course. You know,
Mm. No, I remember as a young man learning in the scriptures how St. Paul said to give thanks in all circumstances.
right?
And the truth is that most of us, I mean, if I'm, well, let's say I'll just speak for myself. I have not even an easy time thanking God for the good things. Oftentimes, I don't thank Him even for the blessings.
Yeah,
But I remember seeing a movie one time, and I don't recall the title of the movie, and I don't know that the fact that the man was a Muslim is of any consequence in it, but there was this hostage scenario, and as soon as this group was assailed, they were taken hostage. The first thing that one of those hostages started doing was say, "Thank you, Lord. Thank you so much." And I think, "Thank you for being, held ransom." But it's true, even in the worst, darkest moments, to give thanks, and even in those worst, darkest moments, like it says in the Psalms, if we go down to Sheol, wherever in the darkest place we go, God is there with us.
yeah, and it's
Mm,
something to remember.
mm,
It's like the virtue of humility is the hardest one to grasp.
for sure.
Yeah, but
For
yeah,
sure.
here we are. And um, I must say that the blessings in my life have been unbelievable. God has blessed me with a wonderful family, a wonderful wife who
Mm,
kept us all together, who kept
yes,
and always had the kids in church, as
yes.
our daughter does now with our grandkids. And
Congratulations.
nothing greater than sitting in the pew with my wife, my daughter, and my two grandkids. And if my son was living here, up here, and wasn't living in Texas, he'd be there too with his little daughter. He's just got ordained as a sub deacon in the OCA church down there. So
Congratulations.
totally into the church. Yeah, totally.
Your wife
Well, he
told me
goes on and
yesterday.
becomes it's up to him if he wants to go on to become a deacon, but I'll back him all the way.
Right. Well, we can help him with that at St. Ticon's.
Yeah,
And I hope that I have a chance to go down to Dallas in November. Perhaps I'll have a chance to meet your son and his family when I'm there.
absolutely. Absolutely. We
Yeah.
will be in touch and he'll come and see you. Yeah, and the family. Absolutely.
Well, you alluded to this a little earlier, Chris, when we were talking. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, a pastor in California, in fact, he says pain is inevitable, but misery is optional. We've all suffered various sorts of pains and loss. You have alluded to this a little bit, not only alluded but shared. I mean, your father taking his own life and so forth. Um, if you're willing, would you discuss something that you've learned from a particular pain or loss in your life?
When my father committed suicide, and went through a good, I didn't really forgive him until I was 50 years old. And you know what
Mm,
it was? I was watching my brother had these old Super 8 home movies,
right?
and we were on the beach, and my dad was playing with me. I was 4. He was throwing me in the air and kissing me, hugging, and I just went, "Oh my God!" And I felt so bad for him
Yeah.
that he was overwhelmed and could not reach out to either a uh, rabbi or a priest or a minister. He couldn't reach out, and he didn't go to therapy or anything. And he got overwhelmed and he got into some bad situations financially, and hence as I say, he died and we were left destitute.
Mm,
And my mother was a strong woman,
mm,
and who was also had grown up in the church, but she didn't continue with the church. But she was strong in that we made it through. We all
yeah.
made it through. And I told you the story, when I wanted to go to San Diego and join the bluegrass band, she said, "Go ahead. I don't worry about you. You'll be fine."
Mm,
And there you go. So I mean, she could have been hanging on to my coattails, you
mm,
know, saying, "You can't leave. Your father's gone," and da, 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 da. But she didn't. She said, "Go on, do this."
mm.
And as soon
So,
as I got successful, she was overjoyed,
yeah.
supportive.
So from that terrible loss of your father, and when you were more or less the age that he was when he did the terrible deed, you you learned uh, or love and compassion open to you by seeing the love that your father had when you were a child. You saw the,
Absolutely.
the weight that he carried and the absence of a capacity to deal with that, which is not only important for forgiveness in that direction, but it's important for us as human beings to say, so we don't repeat those same kinds of patterns. And we know, man, when I'm in a dark place, I got to call out for help. And I know a guy who can help, that
Yeah,
sort of.
kidding. And it's the funny thing. It's like we constantly, Connie and I'll talk about, how does a family that doesn't have a foundation, Christian Judeo foundation, how do they deal with the loss of a child? I
Mm,
mean, the most horrible thing to ever happen. And how
mm.
do they deal with it? And hopefully they reach out to God in the midst of that tragedy. But I don't know.
Well,
You wonder.
it,
You just wonder.
it, it brings two thoughts to my mind. One, um, it's that's one reason why it's so important for us to share what we have, or rather share who we have,
Mhm.
because it's ultimately Jesus, like you said, who is forgiving us, who is healing us, who is comforting us, consoling us, the Holy Spirit with him, his comforter. And then on the other hand, but tied to it, to be able to help people see that from our view as Orthodox Christians, which is very different from the view that other Christians have, that God, while He is the judge, His goal is to save us, not to condemn us, and to be able to show it doesn't matter how bad it is, it doesn't matter how terrible the thing is that you or I have done. The Lord is there with His hand stretched out, saying, "Come to me, and I will give you rest." Yeah.
Yeah.
Mercy. Well, let's change the tide a little bit, Chris, and talk about the brighter side of life. Would you talk a little bit about the most beautiful or profound thing or person that you've ever seen or known? The most profound thing you've seen, or the most profound person you've met, and why would you choose that one?
She's sitting right across from me.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is a blessing that's beyond description.
Mm,
Uh, and I think God did send her down to me.
yeah.
And he really did send her to me.
Mm.
And she said, yeah, when I met you, I said, well, here's a work in progress.
She said that to you, or you
Yeah,
said that
I
to her?
think she said that to me at the time when we
Right.
met first date.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
later she said it, but and I was, oh my gosh, was I?
Mm.
But and thing, I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
let me comment just
Rephrase.
on. Pardon me.
I said rephrase. I don't know.
Refrain.
As far as a thing that was profound,
Oh, that's okay.
yeah.
It's probably better to just talk about how great your wife is and what she's meant to you. I we in our house we are very fond of Proverbs chapter 31, which talks about the best wife. Um, it's read on. I want to say it's read on the very last day or the last 2 or 3 days of Great Lent when we read Proverbs. Go have a look at Proverbs 31 after this. You'll see, I suspect, that your wife matches up to every single characteristic that's listed in that passage, as I believe that my wife matches those for me. And I had a funny moment, Chris, which puts me in the work in progress category. One time I said to my wife, "You are such a Proverbs 28 wife." Well, Proverbs 28 does not talk about the ideal wife. It's the wrong chapter.
Ah,
Anyway, uh,
yeah.
so I suspect that you, like I, have a beautiful Proverbs 31 wife who has um, uh, comforted you, consoled you, supported you, encouraged you, managed the children, watched over the household.
Everything. Absolutely. And caretaking and taking care of me,
Yeah,
uh, keeping me alive. She really is.
yeah,
I've got some issues and I'm not worried about it. If the Lord calls me, it's okay, and that's fine. But yeah,
yeah.
I have issues. I'm sort of, I don't want to bore you. I'm not going to bore you with it
Oh, it's
also.
not boring at all. It's
I'm losing my eyesight. Please pray for me. I have
mercy.
macular degeneration, which is a strange type of macular degeneration in that it's, of course, age related, but it's also a genetic. So I got that from my mother, I believe. But
Mercy.
they can't give me shots or anything. So it's hard
Oh,
to read a book, and I like to read. So,
oh,
but I get Kindles and raise the font up, and
sure. Well,
it's
that's a
been
blessing of
terrific. I mean, I've
technology.
got that, and I've got some lung issues and this and that, blah blah. But it's
Hmm.
okay. I'm fine.
Well, I pray that the Lord continues to give you strength and encouragement. And, we were commenting earlier, on the one hand, technology is wrecking us all,
Yeah,
myself, of whom I am first. On the other hand, it allows us to have a meeting today and it allows you to read a book under
that's
these circumstances. So we
that's
have
right.
to thank God for the good and the bad, right?
Yeah.
Mm. How about Chris? How about success and significance? You yourself have found, by the world's measure, tremendous success in all of your musical endeavors throughout all these decades. We might measure success by money or numbers of followers or number of records sold or number of plays on Spotify, all those kinds of things, concerts and venues and stadiums. On the other hand, maybe significance could be defined by lasting impact, positive impact, serving others, maybe to say whose you are rather than who you are. Um, could we discuss significance? How do you respond to that?
Um, Let me give you a little side note that I always thought. Being in the entertainment business, and I say entertainment business because either as a singer, a musician, or an actor,
Okay.
and it's the devil is going, you having a good time?
Mm.
Man, I want to show you some more things. And this is the sad part. This is where the evil one gets in there. I've
Mm,
seen it. I've seen it work on people and people that have everything in the world, and all the money in the world, and accolades, success, whatever, and end
right.
up getting drug addicted,
Yeah.
suicidal, whatever. And it's interesting that the evil one gloms onto that. And I looked at I was a very lucky but rather blessed young man. And one of the things I go through at my age is I go, I wasn't that good. So I start,
Yeah.
going, I really wasn't that good. I wasn't the greatest musician or singer, and all this
Mm,
and that. And then my wife says, "You did some great stuff. You did some great." I said, "Well, I don't know." And
mm,
she says, "Does it really matter now?" I said, "No, it doesn't really matter. I had a
mm,
wonderful life, 60 years. I was
yeah.
working for 60 years. I had a wonderful life, and I thank the Lord did not fall victim to extreme evil. I mean,
Yeah.
as I said earlier in this conversation, I got into some mischief, and I always knew when to, whoa, wait a minute, and stopped. I said, that's enough. And,
Mm,
but yeah, you think about the things you've done to other people and pray for forgiveness, and which I'm sure is there, but that haunts me.
mm.
What
Oh,
is that song I started? I started a song, I never finished. My past is on the prowl again. Old ghosts are rattling their chains.
oh
That was the
my.
start of the song, which is
Yeah.
about that, where you're going, oh my gosh, I did that to that person.
Oh,
So anyway.
mercy. Are you,
Yeah.
could you put, I mean, apart from the answer that we know is the answer, that is, well, it was the Lord, could you put your finger on something in your life which helped you stay away from the extreme evil that you were talking about? The
Well,
Psalms or the scriptures talk about the folly of youth and the sins of youth, and in many ways, without ever excusing that for any of us at a young age, the Lord knows, and parents certainly know, that kids do stupid things and experiment with bad things, and thank God we live to tell the story. On the other hand, there is a line that gets into substantially evil and terrible and awful scenarios. What was it in your life, would you say, that helped you rein in or not answer the devil's invitation to see more?
every band I was in
Uh,
lost a member or two. And when I said earlier that Roger
by
McGuinn,
which you mean dead, I presume.
that's right, exactly correct, lost them. And the ultimate end game was death. Roger McGuinn and I are the only surviving guys in the Byrds.
Yeah.
The other three have passed away, some earlier, some later. David Crosby was but 2 years ago. And the
Mm.
other two fellows died, close to each other back about 20, 30 years ago.
Uh,
Every band, the Flying Burrito Brothers, Graham Parsons died, and they were all doing stuff. They were all substance abuse, alcohol, blah, blah, all that. And gosh, every single band, yeah. And it's like the band I was in, I don't know if you're aware of all that. I was with Stephen Stills for 2 years when he took a hiatus from Crosby, Stills and Nash
right.
in 1970 to 74 or 72 to 74. And I think right now there's only him, the bass player, myself, and the gentleman who brought me to Christ. There are
Wow.
all these survivors. There's four guys out of seven. And so every single band, and it was all due to drug use,
Yeah.
substance abuse. And I kept going, wait a minute. And this isn't fun. And I stopped running around in that area, that
Sure.
environment.
So somehow you saw the, let's say, terminal results of
Yeah,
where that leads, and said, not for me.
taught a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank God that he spared you from that. And I observe from some of the friends I've met through these interview process, this interview process, just how potent and forceful that kind of substance abuse is in so many places, and how important it is for those of us who either escaped it or didn't go into it, to be a hand like Jesus, to reach out to others and help them come out of it. Yeah,
It's the most egregious. I can say this in context. I hate drugs. I
yeah,
hate what
yeah.
they've done, and I do not like legalized marijuana, but I
Right.
can't stand it. It is a gateway drug. I will
Yeah,
tell anybody anywhere that drug
yeah.
will lead you to cocaine, to heroin, to whatever the other one is, crystal meth,
No mercy.
and all of those things that are death. They're
Yeah,
death,
yeah. Well,
and
thank you
that's
for
the thing.
being frank about that.
Killing society. And it's
Yeah,
not just kids, it's young adults, and
yeah.
uh, it's a one-way street to disaster
Mercy,
or hell.
mercy. Yeah. Well, you've spoken a little bit about some of the great challenges one faces behind the scenes in the music world. Would you, um, I'll try to make a statement, and I don't know whether it's accurate or not, but I'm of the opinion that um, there's not a whole lot of direct faith behind the scenes in the music world. I don't know whether that's true or not, but would you talk a little bit about behind the scenes and believing and worshiping God? Did you see it?
Well,
Did
I
you
mean,
not
I
see it?
don't. There's one person I worked with
Mhm,
who ended up being a minister, Richie
mhm.
Furay, a wonderful man. He was in Souther Hillman and Furay with me, and he ended up being a minister through the evangelical minister,
Yeah.
and through Chuck Smith. Chuck Smith was a good man. He brought more young kids to Christ in the 70s in Orange County, California.
Wow.
And Richie became a minister, had a church, a big one, had a very crowded church in Colorado, Denver area. And you get Christmas cards from Richie. He's got like 20 grandchildren,
Wow.
probably great grandfather now, but there it is. How many people do I know like that? No, just him. So there
Huh.
wasn't a lot of faith-based things going on, unless I'm wrong. But he, Richie, Roger McGuinn, there are very few.
Mm,
You
mm.
know, I mean, there's some lazy Christian. Like I have a dear friend, Herb Peterson, I've known for almost 55 years, and he
Sure.
grew up in the old Catholic Church, the old prior to.
Pre-Vatican II. Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
a lot of guys, they didn't like Vatican II.
For
And so he
sure.
grew up in the old Roman mess. And it's in his heart, but he doesn't go to church. I don't know. And I used to try and talk to him about what the benefits are of going and worshiping with other people. He said, well, I
Right.
pray at home. And I said, that's great. But
Yeah,
boy,
sure.
there's benefits when you get in there and pray with other people.
Mm.
That's okay. He's a good guy. He's a sweet guy. He has it in his heart. So I don't know anybody else, Father. Isn't that terrible?
Huh.
I've been in 8 bands.
Yes.
I can only count 4 people maybe. Al
Huh.
Perkins, 5 people.
Huh. Did you ever cross paths with the band Ambrosia, David Pack?
No, I know the name though. Hmm.
Yeah. Just curious. Um, well, it's I don't know, it's a surprising statistic to hear that what you've just said. Um, I I'm grateful to report, at least through the friends and contacts I have, I'm learning in the music world. Maybe that's turning around a little bit now.
Yeah, I hope
Certainly,
let me end that with I hope I'm wrong on my statistics.
right,
Hope I'm
right,
wrong. Mhm.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, I'm happy to see a number of folks in the music world who are becoming Orthodox Christians in these days. And like yourself, for example, you're in that way kind of a pioneer, having come into the church many decades ago now.
mhm.
But a dear friend of mine who actually has been very generous to open some doors like this for me to interview. I interviewed her herself Lacey Sturm from the band Flyleaf. She and her husband and family became Orthodox Christians. Kat Von D, very well-known musician and current day influencer. She has become an Orthodox Christian, and this when they've had meet and greet type things before shows in recent days, when they get together with those fans, hundreds or thousands of people, to ask any questions they want, the only questions they're asking are about our faith, which is very beautiful.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, the amount of catechumens in our little church, we really getting to the point where we've got to start building a church because we're really in a parish hall. But there's like it's like 30, 40 catechumens.
Remarkable.
That's really refreshing to see that. And they're young. They're all young
Sure.
guys.
Beautiful. That does give hope, doesn't it, Chris?
Yeah. And there's a Orthodox priest out here. You probably know who he is. I can't remember. What's the
John Paladez?
no in Riverside, the one that has
Father Josiah.
Josiah has 100. Somebody said that 100 plus catechumens.
Yeah, you want to know what the plus is? I had a chance. I was in his parish back in March, and I traveled to Serbia. Father Josiah traveled with us to Serbia this summer. He has more than 300 catechumens.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
When I visited there on a Saturday, they had their inquirers class was in a gigantic parish hall, more than 300 people, standing room only, just trying to learn about our faith. Thank God.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know Father Lawrence Russell, who is recently retired? He's an OCA.
The name sounds very familiar to me. I'm not sure if I've met him, Chris.
Father Lawrence OCA, honey.
Yes, Annunciation in Santa Maria.
Annunciation Church in Santa Maria. He retired about a year ago, but we did a lot of fundraising for the iconography in the church and everything.
Oh, beautiful. That's great.
He was a wonderful friend and my father confessor, except I haven't seen him this year, but we'll see him. Anyway, yeah.
Well, just another question or two, Chris, and then if you have any, we could have one. If not, no worries. Let's close out with the most important, which relates to love. In a fallen world, as you and I both know, feelings of betrayal and revenge and anger and the like, they're quite routine, and they make news. Let's talk about that which is lasting and not fleeting, and that's love. If you would talk about a time when you felt truly loved and why.
Oh my gosh, there's been a lot of times that I'm aware of now. I probably wasn't aware of the love I was getting. And I always subscribe to the mentors when you're growing up.
Yes.
And somebody comes along and says, hey, why don't you try it this way? And I would do that. And I had more mentors helping me,
right,
teaching me. And a lot of people don't, they go, but that's love in that sense.
Right. Never thought about that, but you're absolutely right.
But yeah, and just the most interesting people in my life that helped me. And there was a man in the first band I was in. He's 95 years old now.
Wow.
He's not necessarily a religious man, but when I joined the band, I was 18. My dad had died when I was 16. And this guy was an ex-San Diego policeman. So he had a rough edge about him. And sort of took me in as a big brother / father. And was tough, and he really set me right and set me on the path of just behaving. And his wife now is very curious. I've taken her to a couple of liturgies down in San Diego where they live. But he, in his own way, and he had a horrible childhood. His mother was a prostitute during World War II. He was abandoned. He was put on a bus to Kentucky when he was 11.
Mercy.
Just things you wouldn't believe anybody would do to a child. And he made it success. He made a successful life for himself. And he was in the band with us, and he had a great shop, a guitar shop we all used to go to. And now he does tile. What's he do, Connie? Yeah, he does.
Mosaicist.
What's that?
He's a mosaicist.
He's a mosaic guy.
Oh
Anyway,
my.
95
Oh,
years old.
okay. Right.
But I wrote him a letter years ago. He didn't really know how to respond. I just said, "You were always there for me, and I'll never forget you." And not that was ready to go anywhere, but I said, "I'll never forget what you did for me." And
Yeah.
that's pure love. And
Mm.
so that has happened many, many times for me. And I
What a
don't know.
beautiful.
Sometimes I go, why? Well, I'm not a nice guy sometimes. I certainly wasn't years ago. I wasn't a very nice person. And
Yeah.
and I think God had a plan. He had a plan for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, you are radiant with gratitude and thanks and love. I see it. And clearly that's from so many positive influences in your life. Um, even despite the tragedy of your father's suicide, you know, you look back in those videos and you saw him loving you.
Absolutely.
You've acknowledged how much Connie has loved you and cared for you and nurtured you and nourished you and helped you. And this word about the mentors is so important in our day. I was just reflecting on this recently. I would say one from my view, I think one of the great tragedies of being an American, if I may say so, it's kind of a strange thing to say, is that we the one of the founding principles of our American existence, which was shown large in the 60s, with which you'd be familiar, and I wouldn't because I was not born until 71, is the rejection of authority and the rejection of the past, really, the unshackling from the past. And while there are good things to be unshackled from in pasts, there's no doubt. And this is not a commentary on democracy versus, you know, having a king, but we tend to say, "I'll do it myself." That means we don't listen to our parents, and it means we don't listen to our teachers, and that's a great and tragic loss from you know the history of humanity. But you yourself have seen differently by the people who have cared for you and the mentors that you've just described.
Well,
Um,
you know, it's funny having grown up, I mean, being really successful in the 60s and just hitting my stride. I don't look back with any great fondness for the 60s because, yes, we stepped on the family, we stepped on tradition, and there's a lot of things that happened out of the 60s with that kind of philosophy, attitude of not as we were brought up. We were not embracing what we were taught. I'm older than you, but we're embracing what I was taught. So it's
right.
just my poor dad who suffered. But before that, he was a great dad, great mom,
Yeah.
family unit, tight,
Yeah.
loving, and what was what. And these guys all came out of World War II. God
Right.
knows what they sufferred through after
Right.
World War II. And
That's
my
right.
dad tried to go in. He had two children already. He was 40 years old, and I think he made him an air raid warden or something, which was fine. He just was trying to do what he could do. But
Mm.
and as far as this world is so, as we say, it's now angry.
Mm.
And my favorite line is, it doesn't cost any money to be kind. I've used that out in public. I say, it really doesn't cost any money at all to be kind to
Mm.
somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what we watch that in this world. And we go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I watch these footage of these kids in Wisconsin fighting and then robbing stores. I'm going, what are you doing? And then I go back to the parents. Where are the parents? What did the parents not do?
Yeah.
And they're like, they've got to be taught, but
Yeah.
they've got to be taught in the church. And that's what
Yeah.
made our family so good, our family now, our current family. And I think
Sure.
if we'd been in the church when I was growing up, my dad would have probably lived to be 90. Okay. But
Mm.
that's there. That doesn't, it's all hindsight. But so
Sure.
uh
Sure.
anyway. kindness, humility, kindness, and
Mm.
love, which is certainly put into our minds in the Bible as
Yes.
love is the most important thing. It is the
Yes,
most
of course.
important thing.
The greatest of these is love. Yeah.
Yeah, but and I'm saying all this, but it's hard, and it's really hard to live. I remember telling a priest friend of mine, I said, "Gee, I get up in the morning, I pray, and I said, God, forgive me for judging others, and within 1 hour, I'm looking at somebody and judging me." He says, "Yeah," "You and me and 10 million other guys," and I
Right.
said, then I realized I'm looking in the mirror. That's why I'm
Yeah.
judging. It's me that I'm judging. So anyway.
Mm. Mm.
We keep working, we keep aspiring, hopefully to get to heaven, and we keep trying to do as best we can. And I know that's,
Amen.
it's not just idle chatter. I'm telling you,
Sure.
we've had a good conversation, but I'm not just saying these things for your benefit. I'm saying them for my benefit always.
For sure. No, no. One monk was asked one time, "What do you do in the monastery?" And he said, "We fall and get up, fall and get up, fall and get up again."
Yeah.
And that'd be what I hear. What I hear in your story, Chris, is not a man who's never fallen, not much like me, but a man who fell and got up, fell and got up, fell and got up again. And here's the Lord saying, "I forgive you, I love you. Let's keep going."
Let's keep moving. I had that. It's sort of a subtext in my book. Did you ever read that? I should send you a copy.
Forgive me. I would love a copy. I have not read it. I'm sorry to.
My little subtext is, send it to you, and is about get back up and keep
Yes.
moving.
Yes.
Keep moving, because someone's going to be holding your hand and taking you along. And that's sort of a subtext of the book. I will send you one today.
Thank you.
It's a memoir, and it's so funny. I had written this, and I had remembered all these things, and it was about growing up and my journey into music.
Wow.
And we finally one day was sitting on the shelf, and somebody had heard that I'd written a book, and he was a exec at this publishing company, BMG.
Oh
And he
my.
said, "I heard you wrote a book." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Can I read?" So I said, "I'll send you a chapter if you're interested." And he calls me in a week and he said, "We want to publish it." I said, "Well, it's not about every cliche in rock and roll music. It's not about men or drugs or all of it." And I said, "It's about my musical journey." He said, "Good, because that's the kind of book we want."
I'm
And
so
that's
happy.
what they took it, they published it, and it sold. Go figure. So I'll send you one. But it's nice. It has a good, everybody loves the part of me growing up in the 50s.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I'd like to see it. Thank you. Thank you for that.
You have his address? You have Father's address?
We'll work on it.
All right.
I'm so grateful to you, Chris. Is there any stone that we haven't unturned? Is there on the two-way interview side? Is there anything that you'd care to ask? And don't feel obliged.
Hang on one second.
No problem.
What? Well, it's a question. I pray you yourself in me, which was part of a prayer. What is that prayer?
It's the prayer of Saint Philaret of Moscow for the morning. Grant me to greet this coming day in peace.
Yeah, exactly. Grant me to greet the coming day in peace. I say that every day. And finally, I went up to Father Lawrence and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "That's the Holy Spirit."
Right.
Pray you yourself in me. And I said, "I never knew that."
Right.
But that's not the question. The question is, I really believe that I and everyone else has to keep praying, and especially when we have children and grandchildren, and
yes,
ask God to give them a semblance of a break in the world. And we pray the world turns around. I don't know. Maybe it's the last days. We don't know. We don't know that. And I'm not going to say, "Father, when are the last days?" That's just,
oh my, is that the question?
I don't have one. I'm trying to think of something relevant, and I can't. So
Oh, that's okay.
Have any questions?
The last day's question is an easy one, actually. Uh, every day is the last day.
That's a good one. That's a good answer.
No, I think that especially from our evangelical brethren and our own evangelical histories, I have a slightly different one than you, but not too far different. Everyone's looking for signs and signals and dates and times, and there will be an actual calendar day. There's no doubt. Um, although there's no need to calculate it because our saints teach us, our tradition, our spiritual fathers, and indeed our spiritual mothers, they teach us um, live today as if it's the last day. If you knew there wasn't a tomorrow, what would you do? It's much like Chris, when you were reflecting on the death of so many of your friends and bandmates, and you looked at that and said, "I'm not interested to die like that." Well,
Not,
what?
you're not
Yeah,
making a useful contribution. If
right,
you choose that over playing the music to help other people and to please other people,
right,
you're choosing your own self and being selfish. I
yeah,
got a question for you. How
okay,
did, when they say the Dormition of our Holy Mother,
yes,
how did all the saints, they were taken up wherever they were preaching to be
right,
by her side?
right.
How did they get there?
Oh my, the best we can say is by a miracle of God.
Yeah.
For those who may watch this and don't know what you just asked, allow me just to say a little bit about what that is, and then I can say a little bit more about that. So, from for the ancient Christians, we also share this with the Roman Catholic Church in many ways. We celebrate on August 15th the repose, the falling asleep
Yeah.
of Jesus's mother, the Virgin Mary, and pious tradition tells us that the Jesus's followers, wherever they were around the world, they all fled. They didn't flee. They went out. Apostle means sent. They went out to various places to evangelize, and were carried back to be with her at her graveside. But we would just say the church views that as a miracle of grace. And for those who may doubt that such a thing could happen, I mean, when we say, well, Jesus could raise someone from the dead, what if he could raise someone from the dead, he could do that. If he could
Yeah.
open the eyes of the blind man, if he could heal the paralytic, certainly he likewise could, bring people from different parts of the world to one place. But to lighten the criticism perhaps of those who may think that that's silly or far-fetched, we could just say it also is an example to show that the entire church accepts that this happened, and they all bear witness to it themselves, and that is very beautiful and grace-filled. And from that moment when they surrounded her at her side, we reminded that Jesus received her into heaven. That's the image that we have for that feast. I'll do my best if I can. I'm not very technical, but I'll try to plug it in. I'll get an example of it and I'll plug it into this question so people can see it when we're talking about this. But Jesus received her into heaven, and we ask that he would do the same for us. In that sense, the Virgin Mary, the ever Virgin Mary, is the first Christian. She's the first one to say yes to Jesus, and she is the first one in that sense to be directly received into the arms of Jesus himself after her repose. And so we hope the same for ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I'd beat around the bush a little in the answer, but thank you for that.
When when I run across the doubtful people, well, that didn't happen. That's just they made that up. I said, well, there are heck of a lot of witnesses there that saw that.
That's right. How many witnesses does it take to be true? For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful. Chris, I'm so very happy to meet you today, and I'm so very grateful to you and to your dear wife for helping us to meet and have this conversation today. I thank God for the life that He's given you. I pray for your family, especially for your dad and his eternal rest, and that God will forgive him for for that tragic moment. As you have forgiven him, I pray that you continue, that God provide you with good health, and in failing health, that you would thank him for it, and grant it as a chance to express your gratitude to him and to your family, so they can follow your good example. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my
We
pleasure.
will send you a book, and I don't know if she has your address, but
We'll work. I'll send it to you for sure.
yeah, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
A wonderful pleasure. And I do hope you can meet my son. You'll like him. He's really just amazed us. And of course, like every other kid, he goes to college and sort of the church is in the back of his mind. And then he got out of college and he went totally into it. And sometimes I ask him questions. He reads.
Good. Thank God we thank Jesus that he is merciful, and as far away as we go, he still calls us back. And in this case, thank God for you that you heard his voice. I thank God that I was able to hear it. I thank God that your son was able to hear it, and in the context of your beautiful family.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Yeah. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
I will say adios. Have a wonderful weekend.
Amen. I'll stop the recording. Thank you.
I pray you yourself in me, which was part of a prayer. What is that prayer?
It's the prayer of Saint Philaret of Moscow for the morning. Grant me to greet this coming day in peace.
Yeah, exactly. Grant me to greet the coming day in peace. I say that every day. And finally, I went up to Father Lawrence and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "That's the Holy Spirit."
Right.
Pray you yourself in me. And I said, "I never knew that."
Right.
But that's not the question. The question is, I really believe that I and everyone else has to keep praying, and especially when we have children and grandchildren, and
Yes.
ask God to give them a semblance of a break in the world. And we pray the world turns around. I don't know. Maybe it's the last days. We don't know. We don't know that. And I'm not going to say, Father, when are the last days? That's just,
oh my, is that the question?
I don't have one. I'm trying to think of something
Sure.
relevant, and I can't. So.
Oh, that's okay.
The
last days question is an easy one, actually. Every day is the last day.
That's a good one. That's a good answer.
No, I think that especially from our evangelical brethren and our own evangelical histories, I have a slightly different one than you, but not too far different. Everyone's looking for signs and signals and dates and times, and there will be an actual calendar day. There's no doubt. Although there's no need to calculate it, because our saints teach us, our tradition, our spiritual fathers, and indeed our spiritual mothers, they teach us, live today as if it's the last day. If you knew there wasn't a tomorrow, what would you do? It's much like Chris, when you were reflecting on the death of so many of your friends and bandmates, and you looked at that and said, I'm not interested to die like that.
You're not making a useful contribution.
Right.
If you choose that over playing the music to help other people and to please other people,
right,
you're choosing your own self and being selfish.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. How
Okay.
when they say the Dormition of our Holy Mother,
Yes.
how did all the saints, they were taken up from wherever they were preaching to be by her side?
Right.
How did they get there?
Oh my! The best we can say is by a miracle of God.
Yeah.
For those who may watch this and don't know what you just asked, allow me just to say a little bit about what that is, and then I can say a little bit more about that. So, for the ancient Christians, we also share this with the Roman Catholic Church in many ways. We celebrate on August 15th the repose, the falling asleep of Jesus's mother, the Virgin Mary, and pious tradition tells us that the Jesus's followers, wherever they were around the world, they all fled. They didn't flee. They went out. Apostle means sent. They went out to various places to evangelize, and were carried back to be with her at her graveside. And we would just say the church views that as a miracle of grace, and for those who may doubt that such a thing could happen. I mean, when we say, well, Jesus could raise someone from the dead, what if he could raise someone from the dead, he could do that. If he could open the eyes of the blind man, if he could heal the paralytic, certainly he likewise could, bring people from different parts of the world to one place. But to lighten the criticism perhaps of those who may think that that's silly or far-fetched, we could just say it also is an example to show that the entire church accepts that this happened, and they all bear witness to it themselves. And that is very beautiful and grace-filled. And from that moment when they surrounded her at her side, we reminded that Jesus received her into heaven. That's the image that we have for that feast. I'll do my best if I can. I'm not very technical, but I'll try to plug it in. I'll get an example of it and I'll plug it into this question so people can see it when we're talking about this. But Jesus received her into heaven, and we ask that he would do the same for us. In that sense, the Virgin Mary, the ever Virgin Mary, is the first Christian. She's the first one to say yes to Jesus, and she is the first one in that sense to be directly received into the arms of Jesus himself after her repose. And so we hope the same for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd beat around the bush a little in the answer, but thank you for that.
When I run across the doubtful people, well, that didn't happen. That's just, they made that up. I said, well, there are heck of a lot of witnesses there that saw that.
That's right. How many witnesses does it take to be true? For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful. Chris, I'm so very happy to meet you today, and I'm so very grateful to you and to your dear wife for helping us to meet and have this conversation today. I thank God for the life that he's given you. I pray for your family, especially for your dad and his eternal rest, and that God will forgive him for that tragic moment as you have forgiven him. I pray that you continue, that God provide you with good health, and in failing health, that you would thank him for it and grant it as a chance to express your gratitude to him and to your family so they can follow your good example. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.